Jai Shri Ram. This is day 4 of Valmiki Ramayana for kids by Pranav Shankar. Yesterday we covered Rama's Yuvaraja Pattabhishekam, Manthara's poisoning of Kaikeyi's mind, Kaikeyi's use of her two boons to make Bharata king and Rama go to the forest for 14 years, and Rama's departure of Ayodhya with Sita and Lakshmana. The next day, Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana travelled far into the forest. As they reached the banks of the Ganga, Guha, a tribal chief, received them with love and devotion. He arranged for their stay, and he and his tribe kept watch for the entire night while they slept. He then rowed them across the Ganga and bid them farewell as he left them on the other side. Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana proceeded towards Bharadwaja, a great sage's ashrama. Rama introduced himself to Bharadwaja and sought the blessings of the sage. Bharadwaja advised them to go to Chitrakuta and described the beauty of the place, which was located south of Prayag. Lakshmana built a hut for them out of wood and covered the roof with straw and grass. Performing the ritual of Vastu Shanti, they began their austere life in the forest. Back in Ayodhya, an atmosphere of gloom was prevalent everywhere. 6 days had passed after Rama left for the forest. Dasharatha began to fear that a curse that he would die of anguish and grief of separation from his sons would become true. Soon after, he passed away in grief of separation from his beloved son. Vasishtha sent messengers to Kekeya to bring Bharata. When Bharata entered Ayodhya, he could sense some great tragedy had taken place. Hearing about his father's death, Bharata was deeply aggrieved over his father's loss. When Kaikeyi revealed the rest of the news about Rama's departure to Bharata, his grief turned into anger against his mother. He felt deep hatred for her and abused her in unpardonable language. He went to see Kausalya, and she accused him of desiring the kingdom. Bharata, hurt by these false accusations, pleaded innocence with her and asked to be understood. With great sorrow, Bharata then went with Shatrughna to see his father's body preserved in oil and performed the last rites. After the completion of the 13th day ceremonies, Vasishtha requested Bharata to occupy the throne and fill the vacuum caused by the death of Dasharatha and absence of Rama. Bharata refused to accept the kingdom and vowed to bring Rama back from the forest and crown him as king. Elaborate preparations were made for Bharata's journey to the forest, along with a big retinue and army. Guided by Bharadwaja, Bharata traced the route to Chitrakuta. Rama and Lakshmana saw a cloud of dust rising up in the sky at a distance and moving towards the ashrama. Lakshmana observed from the top of a tree and identified the movement to be that of Bharata's army. He concluded that Bharata was coming to Chitrakuta to kill Rama and got ready with his bow and arrows to fight Bharata. Rama pacified Lakshmana and convinced him of Bharata's great qualities. He said Bharata was coming there to ask him to take back the kingdom. Ashamed of his hasty conclusion, Lakshmana stood humbly by the side of Rama, with folded hands. As he approached the ashrama, leaving behind the retinue and army, Bharata's eyes were filled with tears. The meeting of the two brothers was a touching scene. Overpowered by his emotions of love and devotion, Bharata became speechless and fell at Rama's feet. Lifting him from the ground, Rama embraced him with tears in his eyes. He inquired about the welfare of the people of Ayodhya and his parents. Bharata revealed the news of the death of Dasharatha. Rama could not control his sorrow and cried over his father's loss. After taking a bath in the river Mandakini, he offered rice balls and water for his departed father. Bharata revealed the purpose of his visit to the forest and pleaded with Rama to return to Ayodhya and occupy the throne. On seeing Rama's reluctance, Bharata even threatened to sacrifice his life if Rama did not return. But Rama stood firm in his commitment to fulfill his father's promise. Seeing Bharata's pleas to Rama as ineffective, Vasishtha suggested to Bharata to rule the kingdom in Rama's name. Bharata then requested Rama for his padukas or sandals as a symbol of his authority and declared himself as a mere protector of the throne until Rama returned at the end of the 14th year. The retinue and the army returned to Ayodhya while Bharata stayed at Nandigrama and ruled the kingdom in the name of Rama with the help of his ministers. In Chitrakuta, Rama was sad at the turn of events and Bharata's departure. The place constantly reminded him of Ayodhya, Bharata's visit, his father's death, and so on. So, Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana decided to leave Chitrakuta and proceeded to Atri's ashrama, an ashrama of a sage, and they were affectionately received. Rama introduced Sita to Anasuya, wife of sage Atri, and Sita sought her blessings. Then, taking leave of them, Rama entered the Dandaka forest with Sita and Lakshmana. Jai Shri Ram.